You ever sit down with your planner and stare at all of those blank pages and think to yourself, okay, if I can just schedule my life correctly, I will stop being a total disaster. So you start mapping out your day hour by hour, and it looks gorgeous. Neat little color-coded boxes, perfectly balanced between productivity, meals, self-care, and maybe even after-dinner walks. Because hey, you're a new person now. It is the perfect schedule. Monday morning dawns bright, but you miss that first block of yoga in the sunrise because you overslept. And you miss the second block because you forgot that you had to drive your kids somewhere. And by the time you reach that third perfectly color-coded block, you're already thinking, well, I've ruined it, so I may as well just wait and start again next Monday. Or maybe you've tried the opposite approach. You assign every day a vibe. Like Mondays are admin days and Tuesdays are for creativity. You sit there and you think, that's how real adults do it. But then Tuesday shows up and your brain is like, babe, I don't even know my own name and you want me to create something? And suddenly that system feels like a best of intentions Pinterest board that never was gonna work in the first place. That's the trap. We chase these planning systems like they're miracle cures, hoping that if we just pick the right one, it will finally unlock that part of our brain that gets stuff done. And don't get me wrong, planning systems can help. They can be amazing, but only if they fit the way your brain actually works. Which is why today we're going to talk about the two most hyped up planning systems out there: time blocking and theme days. First, we're going to get our terms straight in a way that doesn't have you clicking away to that cat video that YouTube's probably suggesting for you in the sidebar. Time blocking is when you slice the day into chunks of time, and each of those little chunks is a work block. The promise is that you have fewer decisions to make because the next decision is already made for you. Theme days work that same promise on a bigger scale. You cut your week into flavors, and you let each day point you towards a category rather than specific tasks. Both of these systems aim to calm that constant what's next that rattles around in your head. Both of them can help, but both of them can also backfire. When time blocks fail, it's usually because it is structured in a way that makes your blocks think that you have a switch. Focus on, focus off. Transition now. But if your brain is spicy, or your body is unreliable, or, your life is full of people who don't respect your color coding, that switch is invisible. That first missed block can poison your whole day with that old familiar story of how you can't stick to anything. But you didn't fail. The plan failed you by pretending that your capacity is constant. It isn't. And it probably never will be. Meanwhile, theme days can flop for the exact opposite reason. They're too squishy. Giving the day a theme like admin work can feel like walking into an empty room and someone tells you, get to work. There's no clear starting line. There's just a vague direction and way too many options. If your brain needs even a modicum of structure or even just a nudge in a specific direction, this kind of open-ended plan can leave you drifting all day. You'll be wandering from one half-finished task to the next until suddenly it's dark outside and you're just left wondering where the time went. So what do you do when you need structure and flexibility at the same time? You stop marrying methods and start dating them instead. You let the plan be a tool, not your identity. You let it be ugly. You treat both options like they're ingredients in a recipe and not a finished pie. If today needs the safety rails of time blocks, use them. If this week needs the breathability of themes, use that instead. If mornings are chaos, but your afternoons are predictable, split the day in half and give each half a job that matches your energy. There's no prize for loyalty to a method. The prize is a life that works with your real rhythms. There's always this layer that people skip when they talk about time and themes. Neither one of these are actually about time. They're all about energy. If you try to schedule precision work when your brain is caramely corn, you're going to end up hating not only the method, but probably yourself. If you set an errand day on a day that you normally crash out by noon, you're probably going to force yourself to drag your butt across town, and you're going to resent every single minute of it. Planning begins with noticing your own tides. When are you clear? When are you foggy? When are you a social butterfly? And when does your body need to sit down and rest? If you plan against those tides, every single task is going to feel punitive. But if you plan with them, even a messy plan starts to feel like relief. Say you wake up and your mind is mush. Theme your morning in the gentlest way possible. Call it soft tasks or quiet admin or even just warming up the engine. The goal here is not to win the morning. The goal is to get your brain to trust you again. Drink something, eat something, open the lowest friction task connected to the day's focus, and let that be the match. When the engine finally catches, then you can block a chunk of time. Not a whole day, 1 or 2 generous blocks that include transition padding and the knowledge that you're gonna need a buffer after anything intense. If your afternoon collapses, your plan is allowed to collapse with it. You are not late to your own life. You're in it. You're just adjusting your sails. The trap with time blocks is always perfection. And the trap to theme days is the vagueness. You can disarm both without turning this into some kind of homework assignment. For blocks, aim for sloppy and generous instead of perfect and tight. Give yourself an overage on everything. Build buffers between those blocks on purpose to give you somewhere to land. Put a permission slip right on the page that says if this block dies, the next one still gets to live. For themes, you have to make starting stupid easy. Every single theme gets a default first step. Something so laughably small, you can do it on your worst days without having to argue with yourself about it. Admin days always start with opening your inbox. Creativity always starts with opening the document. Errands always start with putting on your shoes. Those defaults save you from the paralysis of that empty room. They also keep you from wasting your best energy naming the first move. There is this quiet grief that follows people like us around planning. You bought the planner and you prepped the spreads. You promised yourself this time you would be different. Then your nervous system did what it always does. Now your planner looks like a museum exhibit devoted to the lost city of hope. If you hear nothing else today, hear this. Your tools are allowed to look used, crossed out, scribbled over, tape on tape on tape. A system that only works when it looks clean is a system that does not work for a real person. The mess is not a failure. It is proof that you are in the arena. Hey, if you're still watching this, can you do me a solid and flick that like button for me? Thanks. Now let's talk about transitions, because brains like ours do not slide between tasks without a ramp. If your block ends at noon and your next task starts at 12:01, your nervous system will stage a walkout. When you draw the block, you need to draw a ramp. Even if it's just a minute to stand up and drink some water. A couple minutes to close out tabs and clear visual clutter. A minute where you tell your brain what's next and why it matters. This is not a precious ritual. It's lubrication for the gears. If you do nothing else, protect your ramps. Theme days have their own version of a ramp because you need a morning headline to point you in the direction that you want to go. You can make this as low tech as a sticky note on your coffee pot or as fancy as a wallpaper on your phone that changes with a prompt. Admin means opening your email. Creativity means opening the document or unveiling the canvas, or pulling out your supplies. Errand day means gather your tote bags. When you see the theme, you move. The smallness of that move is not an insult. It is a kindness. It wakes up your momentum without scaring it away. There will be days when your blocks are the only thing that keep you from dissolving into the internet. There will be days when a theme is the only thing that allows you to breathe because the thought of micromanaging your time feels like handcuffs. Let both exist. If your body is flaring and your brain is fogged, a soft theme day that only asks for one win might be the bravest thing you can do. But if you're sharp and motivated and tempted to just scatter yourself everywhere, in some kind of frenetic dance of energy, a couple solid blocks can keep you from spraying your attention around like glitter. I want to take just a minute to say something here about guilt. You are not required to justify your plan to anyone who does not live in your body. There is no judge out there handing out scores for how very adult your calendar looks. If a method works for you for 3 weeks and then stops working, that is not some kind of moral failure. It is a data point. That's it. You just learned something about your capacity or your environment or the season that you are in. Retire the tool without fanfare and reach for another. You are allowed to be seasonal with your systems. Summer brain and winter brain are not the same animal. Hell, sick brain and well brain are not the same animal. If we're sticking with it, tender brain and feral brain are not the same animal. You build shelters that suit the weather, not shelters that need to be admired. Protecting your time becomes so much easier when you protect your energy first. That means that food is not an afterthought. You drink water before you're dehydrated, and you try any kind of possible movement you can to shake the static out of your limbs. These things allow your brain to be a brain. So you need to do your best to lower the friction wherever you can. Put things where that thing happens. If you take meds, put them next to the first thing you touch in the morning. If you were like me, it is probably your phone. If you're a little bit better at adulting than I am, put it next to your toothbrush. If you journal, keep a pen with your notebook next to where you drink your coffee. If you always run your errands on Wednesday, keep your tote bags packed and duct tape your list to the handles. This way you are not wasting energy getting started. You are not wasting energy making the decision. The decisions are made, and the items you need to start the momentum are where they need to be, whether you are tender brain or feral brained. Now, I know that there is this little voice popping up in your head, and it's saying what it always says. Real adults stick to things. Real adults keep and set routines. Well, I don't know those adults, but I know humans. I know mothers and caregivers and spoonies. I know creatives, and I know people with brains that do not obey. And I would argue that real adults iterate, they pivot, they renegotiate. They decide that what worked last month doesn't work this month, and they adjust. Let's be those adults. Finishing a day differently than what you had planned is not failing the plan. You are allowed to make planning feel good, not performative, not aesthetic. Good. If bright markers help you feel awake, use them. If you have to scribble a huge ugly arrow to move a time block from today to tomorrow, do it. If you want to theme your theme days with names that make you laugh, do it. Call it goblin admin. Call it feral errands. Call it soft work. No one can fail a day named soft work. This is going to help your nervous system unclench before you even start to fight with it. And I know some of you are thinking, this sounds fantastic, but I have a boss. I have clients. I have a life that doesn't give a damn what my capacity is, which is fair. Most of us are not building our schedules in a vacuum. In that reality, blocks and themes do still help. They just become more like lenses. You look at your obligations and you try to think, where do I have any control at all about how this can look? You block the parts that you can and you theme the parts that you can't. You build micro buffers around the hard edges. You give yourself soft landing zones around meetings that you know are going to give you anxiety. You stop expecting yourself to bounce from one demand to the other like a frickin' pinball. You can't change everything, but you can always change something. And, real quick reality check for my perfectionists. You're not going to get this mix right every time. Some weeks you're going to block too tight and friction is just going to claw right through your patience. Some weeks you are going to theme too loosely and you are going to drift like a paper boat into a sewer with, a killer clown. The only mistake that you can make is to not pay attention to the feedback your system is giving you. If you feel resentful towards your time blocks, you need to widen them. If you feel lost inside of a theme day, you need to look just at the first step. If you want to break up with your planner every single Friday night, stop promising Monday that you're going to be a different person. Once you stop treating planning as if it's some kind of morality barometer, it becomes playful again. You can test, you can tinker, you can run little experiments. You do not owe anyone a pretty plan. You owe your future self a kinder one. Time blocks can be kind if you give yourself breathing living room and offer forgiveness when you go off plan. Theme days can be kind when you stop trying to be every single version of yourself in a single day. Your job is not to impress a calendar. Your job is to build yourself a week that you can survive without resentment. Don't forget to smash all those YouTube buttons for me and leave me a comment below and tell me your coffee order. I am a simple girl. If I am at home, it is straight black coffee. If I'm going out to a coffee shop, it is a classic red eye, which, if you don't know, is just a black coffee with a shot of espresso. I don't get fancy in my planner, and I don't get fancy with my coffee. What can I say? Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope that this video resonated with you. I hope you got some good information out of it, and I hope to see you next time. I love you so much. Bye.